have you noticed something? A few months ago, people were saying this war was slowing down. Some even thought both sides were getting tired and maybe peace talks would go finally on the table somewhere to get resolved. But now it feels like we're watching the exact opposite thing, what's happening on the battlefield. If you look at what's been happening recently, both Russia and Ukraine seems to be increasing the pressure on each other instead of backing away. So Ukraine has been carrying a lot of things out of more long-range drones attacks inside Russian territory, while Russia has responded with a larger missile attacks on Ukraine. Instead of seeing fewer attacks, we are seeing more and more on Ukraine. So that's what really catching this attention. Now, because at some point you have to ask yourself, where does this all ends? Russia is one of the world's biggest military power, as we all know. It has one of the largest armed forces, a huge defense industry, the world's largest nuclear arsenal. Ukraine has shown that it can fight back and has surprised many military analysts over the last years. But when a smaller country keeps striking deeper into territory, into Russia, much larger military power, it naturally raises a different question. What will happen next? I'm not saying Ukraine shouldn't defend itself. Every country has the right to defend itself. But what I'm saying is that every new strike increases the risk of this conflict could become much bigger and bigger. That's the part that really worries. Because wars don't always stay within the limits that they expect. Every single time one side launches the bigger attack, the other side usually feels pressure to respond with something even stronger. Now, the cycle can continue for months, probably even years and even decades. That's exactly what we are seeing between Russia and Ukraine. Now, think about this. Where this war started compared probably where it is right now. At first, many people believed it would end quickly, within weeks or months. But no. Then it turned out into a long, endless war. Then both sides started using advanced drones. Then long-range missiles becoming more and more common between these two countries. Now we're seeing attacks much further into the front lines. Every few months, another line that people once thought would never be crossed ends up being crossed. That's why many experts say escalation is one of the biggest danger in this specific conflict. Another thing people sometimes forget, it is the economic impact. Now, this isn't about affecting Russia and Ukraine. Energy prices, food supplies, shipping routes, military spending, and government budgets have all been affected in different ways or another since the war began between Russia and Ukraine. Now, countries across Europe have increased defense spending. As we are seeing governments, they're investing billions into the new military equipment. Weapons production, they have expanded massively. And taxpayers across many countries are ultimately paying part of that cost. So then there's a human side. Thousands of families, they're losing their members. Millions of people are being displaced. Cities have been damaged totally to the dust. No matter which country someone supports politically, it's difficult to look at the humanitarian impact and not recognize how devastating it has been. Now, that's why it's frustrating to see the conflict continuing with no obvious end in sight. When people hear about another drone strike, probably another missile attack, it almost starts sounding routine things. But none of this is normal. Every headline represents real people living through another day of war. One thing that also stands out very quickly is the military technology has changed totally. Drones that once seems like a secondary equipment have become central to modern warfare, especially what's been happening towards Russia. Both sides are constantly adapting and killing each other. New tactics appearing all the time. New defenses, they get developed instantly. Now, and unfortunately, it also makes a conflict harder to stop with all this kind of stupid chaos. Because when both sides believe they can still gain an advantage, neither side has much incentive to slow down. So where does this go from here, the war? Nobody honestly knows exactly. Some people believe diplomacy will eventually prevail. That's what they just keep believing since past 2 or 3 years. Another thing, people, they think war is the best solution. There are also concerns that any major miscalculation could probably take this conflict into further danger phase. That's why every significant military development attracts so much international attention on this that we have no idea. At the end of the day, one thing is very clear. This war is not getting simpler and easier. It's basically becoming more complicated and more in danger phase. It's becoming more expensive, especially for Ukraine. It's becoming more dangerous, especially again for Ukraine. Whether you're following this from Europe, United States, Asia, or anywhere else in the world, the consequences reach beyond the battlefield. As we all know, even with the Iran war, Ukraine has been attacking over and over to Russia, and I totally understand Russia started the war, but the whole point I'm trying to tell you is the more Ukraine attacks with Russia, and as we all know, Russia is more powerful than Ukraine, and it might probably attack back to the Ukraine by destroying Ukraine totally back to the dust. So hopefully this war stops, and hopefully Zelenskyy stops this war not going and killing a lot of people, because a lot of people, Ukrainian, just getting killed every single day. So